that really revolves around food excess and food scarcity, and we'll roll from there as well as our panelists add in other issues and things they want to share with you, and we'll be taking questions from the audience as you have them. We're going to start though with a series of questions, but before I begin asking them questions, I wanted to introduce you briefly to the program that has sponsored this event. The Recycling and Resource Management program here at IVC has also been offered at Golden West College and Santa Monica College over the past few years. And I know several of you in the audience have been through that certificate program. If you want to raise your hands, people can see around who's been through that program. If you have any questions about it, you can go ahead and ask some of the graduates and students of the program. But what you should know is that we have a certificate of recycling and zero waste and a certificate of recycling and resource management here at IVC. So you can actually come and learn how to create a zero waste plan, how to set up recycling programs, how to do waste audits, and how to start designing and how to reduce and design out waste from businesses, communities, our whole environment. So that's something that we're very excited and proud of here, and that's part of why we're doing this whole speaker series to begin with. Okay, let me reintroduce our speakers. On the far right, or on my right, on your left, is Danielle Aslam from PowerCycle. Next to her is Dan Manassero from Manassero Farms. And next to him, next to me, is Robert Flournoy with Fishes and Loaves times 10. And again, my name is Jenna McCarty, and I'm with Irvine Valley College. Okay, so I'm going to ask each of you a few questions, and I'll ask each of you to answer the first question. We'll pass it along to the next, and let's start with, how does food excess and or scarcity affect your work? Danielle, would you start for us?
Sure. So from my perspective, it's more on the excess side of things. And our agency, the California Department of Resources Recycling and Recovery, or CalRecycle for short, we do a waste characterization study every so often. And the last one showed that we have 6 million tons of food waste going to the landfills currently every year. And that's about 16% of all of the waste that goes to landfills. And even in some cities, it's more than that. So it takes a lot of logistics, basically, to get that material even to the landfill. It's very costly. Tonnage tipping fees at landfills are, $50, $100, even more than that sometimes. So it's costly to even get that material there, and we would like to see it going to a better use than being, put in the landfill. Also, once it reaches the landfill, if it breaks down anaerobically, which is usually the case, then it releases methane. And methane is a greenhouse gas that's actually quite a bit more potent even than carbon dioxide. So even though landfills may have systems in place to capture methane, typically they don't go in until after the food waste is already degraded. So it would be beneficial to the environment also to not have that waste going to the landfill.
My turn?
If you just turn it towards you, about this distance is great.
Well, we don't have, in farming, we don't have a lot of excess. You might have excess one year, and next year you have, a scarcity, and it's kind of all over the place. You never know what you're going to get. But when we do have excess, like right now, we just started harvesting our cucumbers. And I sell cucumbers to Whole Foods and a few other groups. These are the organic ones that have grown up on the corner of Jeffrey and Walnut. And we can't sell, they don't want the crooked ones. or if they have a little yellow spot on it, they call it yellow belly. So we're putting them in boxes, and Rob's people are picking them up, and they're perfectly fine cucumbers, which is kind of a shame. You know, it kind of goes along with that film, like, why can't you use those? Well, we are. I mean, big farms are, if you don't have the logistics to do this kind of thing, you probably do just throw them away. But fortunately for us, we're in the city here, and we're able to pack them up and send them away, and people are using them. It's a great deal, and I'm glad Rob contacted us. He saw us growing stuff out here, and he comes out and they glean the beans, because it gets to a point when we harvest beans, we can't put a crew back in there because it costs more to pick whatever little bit's left at the end. So, but there's still a lot of viable product out there. So it's a good thing that he'll bring in a bunch of people, and they'll come through, and they carry out trash bags full of beans. And I don't know where they take them, but I'm glad they're getting rid of them. And we actually wait, and then when they're done, we go in there and plow the field under and start again. And same thing with our tomatoes. And so, you know, that it's excess for us is kind of a boon for when we have people that will pick up the food. You know, if there's a scarcity, well, they'll get less, but it's kind of all over the place anyways. So.
Great. And Robert, I know you have a lot to share.
Scarcity and excess. Well, like Dan was saying, number ones and number twos, as he was saying, number ones are the perfect ones we buy in the stores. Number twos, like he said, are the ones that may be crooked, which Dan donates to me, and they go to food banks, whether it's cucumbers or it's green beans or tomatoes. But not only does he give us seconds, but then we go in again and we glean the farmland, which is what he doesn't pick. So it's almost like it's almost like donates, we glean, and sometimes we harvest. But there's an excess, which for me is an excess, because in Orange County, and I got to give some stats to you guys, if I got a minute here. Orange County has the third highest population in the state of California. This is Orange County. Approximately 3,055,000 residents, or 34.4% of Orange County households, are unable to meet their basic needs. 90.9% of these households are working families. 1 out of 8 Orange County residents face food insecurity. 1 out of 5 children. Enrollment in food stamps in Orange County programs increased 37% in 2010, demonstrating the need for affordable and nutritious food. 391,380, or 13.1% of Orange County residents face food insecurity. Once again, Orange County, not the nation. Of those residents, about 41% are not qualified for SNAP or the governmental nutrition program. 33.7%, 211,000 low-income households in Orange County experience hunger at least once a day. Excess, even though there's stats and we have so many food banks, even there's not even a lot when it comes to excess, because there's so many people going hungry in our county, in Orange County alone. And working with Dan Manassero for the last 3 years has allowed us to feed more people. Last year, Dan donated about 250,000 pounds of produce since we worked together, and I was able to help organizations that fed an excess are about 520,000 people, just what Dan donated last year. So working with Dan, what used to be thrown away for whatever reason, is no longer thrown away. Now it's given to my org, and I give it to food banks from LA to Orange County, which is about 15 organizations. So it's pretty productive, and we do a lot out there with what he's giving to us. So it's a lot going on right now. And the access, or one of the programs we're working with Orange County, the health department, and the food banks like Second Harvest or Community Partnership, is we're now trying to take the perishable foods from hotels. We just met about a month ago. Disneyland was there. We're trying to get a program. How can we take the cooked food from hotels, just like you said in the film, to give it to those who are hungry? So we're trying to network on this, trying to put this together, how we can take it to that new level. And mind you, this is the health department that's involved in this. They're heading this. And once again, that's a beautiful thing, because it's going to a whole new level to stomp out hunger in Orange County.
We had invited a 4th panel member this evening who unfortunately wasn't able to come tonight, and he joined us last week instead. Rick Crandall of Albertans was hoping to join us as well and share the grocery store perspective on the topic. And I'll just give a little bit of an overview. he has much more to share about what they're doing related to food waste, and they are one of the leaders in the nation and especially locally on addressing grocery store food waste and getting that to donate it to food banks and getting it to hungry people, but also then the food that's not able to be donated, they now have started a composting program. And compost is something that was not mentioned in the film, but I know Danielle's going to hopefully talk a little more about some of the composting programs. Not always is the food edible, right? There are times when it's rotten and no one's going to eat it. And so what then? And so what Albertans is doing, and what Danielle will tell us some other communities are doing, are starting to implement composting programs. So Albertans is locally taking all the food that's unedible and shipping it back to a central location, and they have set up a facility that is composting all of that food waste. So what can't be donated to be eaten is now returned and composted, and now they're selling that compost in their stores. So it's a nice closed loop. I'm sure that it's got pieces that can be worked out and streamlined even more, but they're doing a lot of interesting pieces to close that loop. So Albertsons is doing that. Rick Crandall would have more to share about that. And Danielle, maybe you could share what some of the other communities that you know of are doing with regards to food waste.
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to say too that we're big on following a hierarchy for food diversion. So first, is to reduce, reuse, recycle. So first is to reduce the waste in the first place, and then second would be to feed, have that food go to somebody who can eat that food, or to animals if it's not fit for human consumption. And then after that would be composting. That could include even anaerobic digestion, which is a big thing that's kind of being implemented right now. So we are seeing a lot of those types of projects. There are quite a few grocery stores in this area that backhaul their food waste to a really large compost facility in Kern County. It's hard to cite those facilities because there's a little bit of not in my backyard kind of thing, the compost facilities. There's also air district regulations on those facilities. So for that reason, there's not a lot of those in Orange County and LA County that can actually take food material. Other parts of the state do have more of those types of facilities. But because anaerobic digesters are actually enclosed, that's something that's becoming more popular. Those facilities can take the food waste and then produce methane that can be used as a fuel source. So we are seeing some of the waste hauling companies in this area starting up those types of projects, which is exciting. And especially we want to make sure, though, that hierarchy is followed, that if the material is fit for human consumption, that takes place before composting.
Dan and Robert, you both shared a little bit about some of the solutions that you're actually implementing now. Do you see any next steps that could be taken that you'd like to see happen in the next year, the next few years, that would make it even more productive?
Well, I mean, I sell stuff at Whole Foods, our tomatoes and strawberries, and I know I go in there and they have this huge, prepared food thing, and like this movie said, they've thrown all that away, and it's a shame. I mean, I couldn't believe it. It's beautiful stuff, vegetables and chicken and whatever, and it's too bad. I mean, I know they're scared of lawsuits and that kind of thing, but if we could, if people could get on talk to their Congress people and assure, get laws passed that assure them that they won't lose their business by selling some bad food. Because I'm sure after you could put in place groups like Roberts and others that would pick the stuff up, on a nightly schedule, and it wouldn't have to go to waste. There's a need for it, and it's just not getting. You can't connect the dots. I mean, government's such a, giant mess that they can't really get things done, so you, as people, you'll have to take it upon yourselves and write letters, talk to your Congress people. I mean, sometimes they'll actually listen. So, I mean, that might be a solution. It would help. I know they throw a lot of food away.
Before I pass the mic to Robert, I'm going to ask if you're coming up with questions as we talk, I'm going to ask Sandy to go along. You can see Sandy's waving her hand in the back there. If you want to pass your question cards over, she'll bring those up to me, and then we'll bring those into the dialogue as well.
As I was saying earlier, one of the ways that we're working on this is getting the perishables with organizations, and we're trying to figure out how to implement that. How do we get the cooked food from these hotels? So we're trying to figure this out. We're trying to put this together. I know the city of Anaheim, the mayor of Anaheim already said, yes, you can start in Anaheim doing this. So we're trying to work how we can pull this food in. A lot of the stores, like Dan said, are afraid of lawsuits, but in the meeting we had, the health department said, like we all know, you cannot be sued. So when we start doing this program, we're going to send letters out to every restaurant saying that you're covered. We're the health department. We know what we're talking about. You're not going to be sued. So then we're hoping that these restaurants and these hotels will say, okay, we're comfortable with that, and we'll release that food. That's the next step in how to fight hunger in Orange County. Well, because we can get all the donated perishable produce, we can get the non-perishables, but when many restaurants are throwing away their food and it's edible, it's time for us to go in there and get that food. And we believe, as the health department said, that we can actually stop out hunger in Orange County. With Dan, I would love, at Dan, I'm going to take another level with Dan, as Dan is donating to me the produce. My goal is to start getting grants so I can not only get the donated, but also buy from him. My heart is to sustain farmers here in Orange County, and that's the next level I want to go with Dan. So the more produce I can get for him, the more I can get for things.
One of the issues raised in the film as a kind of a roadblock to getting food to people, the food that's being wasted to people, is logistics. So I wonder if you could talk about what you're seeing in Orange County. Dan, I'm guessing you're connected to some of the other farms in the county. Do you have any idea what they're doing? Are they participating? Have they been responsive to being involved with donating food? And
Well, Orange County Produce, they're kind of partners. They're not partners, but I mean, they sell my product, and they're distributors, and they grow a lot of stuff. They are growing everything on the El Toro Marine Base right now. And I know they're already doing this. So, I mean, local city farms can do this. I mean, you get up in the Central Valley, and the logistics, forget about it. There's, you got to drive up there and haul the stuff. It's just not going to happen. But, you know, when you see a local farm, and that's not the problem. The stuff, all the produce they grow in the Central Valley gets brought down to Southern California or wherever, you know, Northern California, and it's the stores. It's at the store level where that food is really being wasted. So it's not really as much being wasted in the farms. The farms, you know, they harvest as much as they can because they need to maximize their, you know, production. So it's really at the store level, not at the farm level. But I mean, like, the local farmers are already doing it. I don't know about Tanaka over here. I think he does a lot of community stuff, so I'm sure he does. They share. And like, we just started our squash, which is a really big crop, and we have to pick it every morning because the customers want to see nice shiny squash without a scratch on it. And I don't know, you pick up 5-10 boxes, you know, 200 pounds a day for the stuff we didn't sell. And so it you know, it works for us. We're just a little tiny version of a store, so if you can get the stores to go along, that's where the waste is. It's not much on the farms, as you would think. You know.
One of the other farmers I work with is, he was saying with Orange County Produce, which is A.G. Cotton Moore at the Great Park. And A.G. Donates a lot to me. That's where we do a lot of gleaning and harvesting too, is at the Great Park. And the way my organization works is I'm a middleman. So I invite the food banks. I invite the food banks to come out. Food banks bring their own volunteers. Food banks bring their own trucking, and they truck it back to their food banks. So that's one way it works with me. So when it comes to transportation, There's never a transportation issue. I think a lot of it has to do with when it comes to maybe finances a lot, when it comes to organizations or nonprofits. There's an organization now that has all volunteers that drive their trucks and they pick their food every day and they distribute it. That's the only thing that is the finances. And like I said, once again, working with the health department, that's the biggest goal, is how are we going to truck this stuff in? How are we going to pick up this food? How are we going to do all this? That's the biggest problem we have right now. We're there, we're ready to do it, but how are we doing it logistically? And that's our biggest issue right now.
Well, you might have an answer to this next question. If everything that has meat in it is frozen at the store or restaurant or hotel, and then the food bank folks would pick it up, might that help? Hopefully I got that question right. So I'm always trying to interpret these questions, so hopefully I get them right. And Robert.
Yeah, that would help out. That would help out a lot. Like the film said, most meat is thrown away the day before the date. If you immediately freeze that, it goes weeks. It's great meat to eat. I've done it. I do it myself. If they freeze it for us, it's easy for us to pick it up. It'd be easier for food banks to pick it up. This program working out, it'd be a lot easier for us to pick it up and feed it. I believe we can stop out hunger in Orange County. I believe that. If stores and restaurants like that would freeze it for us, it would help us financially as we're trying to put this budget together. It'd be easier to distribute, because our concern also would be hot food going bad in the process of delivering it. But like I said, we're working on this whole thing, and that's a great question, and that's part of what I was saying, is that we just got to put the logistics together, and as we do, I guarantee you we'll stop out hunger in Orange County.
Okay. The next question is going to jump over to Danielle. The question, great question, two questions. What is compost and what is anaerobic digestion? So let's get those defined.
Okay, I'll do my best. So I would say that compost is an aerobic process, and anaerobic digestion is the anaerobic process. So that means whether or not there's oxygen involved. So when you have food waste, that's something that microbes will really like to consume. And if there is oxygen, so in a compost pile, you take that food waste, you have the right kind of ratio of carbon to nitrogen so that the microbes are really happy, and you turn that material so that it has a lot of oxygen in there as well. So then the microbes are eating that material and breaking it down into organic matter. So then that material is actually really beneficial to then put on the soil and provide nutrients for those plants that are grown in that soil. So it's a closed loop that's a natural system.